Good evening and welcome to Bloomberg Quint Live. I am Agam Akil. Over the next half an hour, we help you catch up with everything you missed over the course of the day. Let's start with the headlines. Indian markets gain for the second straight day. Banks and financials lead gains. And Bandhan Bank lists at a premium. The stock rallies as much as 33% on its first day. GST collections fall in February, around 85,174 crore rupees collected in February against 86,318 crores in January. And Binani Industries seeks 10 days to pay off all Binani cement creditors. The Kolkata NCLT gives creditors 2 days to consider the proposal. The Election Commission today announced voting for the Assembly elections in Karnataka will be held on the 12th of May and the results will be out on the 15th of May. Now, Indian equity benchmarks rose for the second straight day, led by banks after government reduced its borrowing for the April-September by half. Yatin Mota is standing by to take us through all the market action of the day. Yatin, over to you.
Thanks for that, Agam. And Nifty and Sensex, good gains coming in, 0.5% up for both the benchmark indices. And Nifty, that is closing above the 200-day moving average. So, on the sentiment side, it was quite positive. In fact, if you look at the small cap and the mid cap index, gaining by nearly 1.5% each. So, the mid cap and the small cap, despite the March end woes, have been doing well in the marketplace. Stock-specific oil marketing companies which had been beaten down have seen some bit of recovery in trade today. So both IOC and HPCL have recovered smartly in trade today. More importantly, they are the biggest winners on the Nifty today. Apart from that, the Bharti twins, Bharti Airtel as well as Bharti Infratel were the top losers on the Nifty, down by nearly 2 percentage points each. Of course, PSU banks did well. So we had the likes of Indian Bank and IDBI Bank gaining smartly over 5%. Importantly, today's PSU banking stock index was up by nearly 3%. So good traction in the PSU stocks. What did not do well is Fortis Healthcare as well as Canfin Homes. Both of these stocks have some corporate action. Of course, Fortis, the news report suggests there is a board meeting today evening. So on the back of that, we had some nervousness trickling in as far as Fortis Healthcare is concerned. And finally, in the future and options segment, tomorrow is the expiry day, and ahead of that, we have seen good traction coming in for stocks like Muthoot Finance as well as Biocon.
Thanks for that, Yatin. We will keep an eye on some of those cues which may have a bearing on tomorrow's day of trade as well. But moving on, liquidity is the biggest worry this year. That's according to Saurabh Mukherjee of Ambit Capital. In a conversation with Bloomberg Quint earlier today, he lauds the government's move to cut down bond auctions in the first half of the financial year. And he also adds that the adverse GST collections could worsen the liquidity situation in the country. Listen in.
If you ask me, the only big worry this year is liquidity. Liquidity does seem to have tightened considerably in India in the last 3-4 months. Hence the tightening in bond markets, hence the pressure on stock prices. Banks are having to struggle to get deposits. They're hiking their deposit rates. And I think in that context, the government's announcement to reduce borrowing in H1 was a very smart announcement, because that gives relief, that gives the market relief on the liquidity front. If we get a couple more announcements either from the RBI or the government which give relief on liquidity, I think the market will find itself on a firmer footing over the next few months.
Saurabh, morning. Ira jumping into the conversation. Actually, I was just looking through your report and that chart where you talk about GDP and liquidity being the two drivers. So if you juxtapose that with what we are going to see, perhaps at least in the early part of FY19, GDP will improve. Liquidity, is tighter than it was last year. But I don't know that the Reserve Bank is in a mood to tighten liquidity to the extent that it would start damaging the economy. Because if you look at the last MPC minutes, they seem to think this is a nascent recovery. They seem to feel the need to support it. So could we have for the want of a better term, a Goldilocks scenario where GDP is improving, liquidity is comfortable, although not super easy, and inflation stays, well, moderate?
I think that's certainly feasible, Ira, that the RBI doesn't dry up liquidity. I don't think the RBI has any reason to worry about the rupee at 65, 66. I think even my reading is both Bombay and New Delhi would like to see the rupee at 67, 68. So it's not as if the RBI will lose that much sleep on the currency front. And whilst the CAD is approaching 2%, and with FII outflows in the bond markets, a little bit of a concern on balance of payments, it's not that big. So it's not evident that we are set for a big draining in liquidity, a big liquidity challenge. It's not evident to me there's a major liquidity challenge coming up. The only black cloud I see in the horizon is GST collections. If GST collections don't improve materially from this 85, 90,000 crore mark, if we don't push through the 100,000 crore per month mark over the next 3, 4, 5 months, I think then we have a bit of a challenge, because I think then the bond market, the 10-year bond yield could pick up, could harden further.
And Bandhan Bank made a strong debut on the bourses today, listed at a 29% premium to the issue price, and it's an IPO that saw strong interest as well, maybe because of lenders' business profile. We have Shraddha Babla who's standing by to tell us more about Bandhan Bank. Shraddha, where does it stand in terms of the size, and how does its balance sheet stack up against peers, especially with IDFC Bank when it's got its license at the same time?
Well, yes, so Bandhan Bank is valued at close to 57,000 crores after listing. What's interesting is that that pegs it as or bigger than any PSU bank in India, barring SBI. So Bandhan Bank's market cap of 57,000 crores, much larger than 3 of the listed small finance banks, also larger than the mid-cap private banks like RBL, Federal or IDFC Bank, and closer to Yes Bank's 70,000 crores. Now, if we, so that's as far as the market capitalization is concerned. If we move on to the kind of asset and deposit base that the bank has built in a span of less than 2 years, the loans and deposits of the bank have nearly doubled from about 12,000 crores to 23 and 25,000 crores. So that's how it compares as far as the market capitalization is concerned and how its balance sheet has grown. But if we compare it to where the loan book stands as compared to some of its peer group companies, if we move forward, Bandhan Bank's 24,000 crore loan book is smaller than that of IDFC Bank and RBL Bank, but much larger than the 3 other small finance banks, which shows how it has been able to quickly scale up its balance sheet post conversion into bank. Even if you compare the asset quality parameters, the gross NPA number for Bandhan Bank stood at about 1.67, one of the best as far as banking ratios are concerned. Even if you talk about the CASA liability build-up, the CASA base is at 33% for Bandhan Bank, much higher as compared to IDFC Bank's mere 8.6%, despite the fact that both of these had received RBI's banking license at the same time. Even if you compare the cost-to-income ratio, Bandhan Bank's 35% is amongst the lowest in the industry, much better than what its private banking peers like RBL or IDFC Bank have been able to do, and probably even better than the 40+% sort of a ratio that some of the best banks like Kotak or HDFC Bank would have. Even if you compare it with respect to the return profile, it's amongst the best with ROEs of 4.5 and ROEs of 28%. So that's how the business aspects and operational parameters look like.
Sure, Shraddha, but how do you categorize this bank? Would you call it a universal bank or a small finance bank?
Well, right now, the valuation pegs it closer to being a universal bank. So, with today's listing, it's valued at 6.3 times its 9-month 18 price to book value ratio, much higher than what some of the microfinance turned banking entities like Ujjivan and Equitas are doing, much higher than what private banks like IDFC and RBL Bank are trading at, and much closer to HDFC Bank and Kotak Mahindra Bank, which are one of the best performing retail private banks in India. The only other bank or banking entity to have a price to book ratio higher than that of Bandhan Bank is AU Small Finance Bank at 7 times, but that's of course a factor of the kind of portfolio it has, not microfinance focus like that of Bandhan Bank.
Well, thanks for that, those details, Shraddha. Of course, we will be watching out for more developments there. But, you know, staying with the bank, it's said that it's looking to expand its presence in unbanked and underbanked regions in the country. And that's the word coming in from Chandrasekhar Ghosh, the bank's managing director and CEO, speaking to Bloomberg Quint's Ridhima Saxena. He says affordable housing will be another area of focus. Listen in.
First point, we like to see that where is an underbanked, unbanked people is more. If you see that eastern region, unbanked and underbanked is more compared to the south and others. So we need in the more of the bank network branch will be open in there. Second point is there, if you see that the future, the focus of the banking industry and country in the rural, because the 34% of the bank branch as of now serving to the rural, where 70% people are living, and 66% branch are serving to the 30% people. So Bandhan is focusing to the future on that is in rural more branch. That means already we have the 55% branch in rural, so which unbanked, underbank is more. I hope that is in next future the deposit growth and credit growth will come from there.
So which areas would you bet on?
No, if you see that the Bihar, Bengal, Assam, Odisha, Tripura, this is a very good area also. And also it is a next steps if you there the population-wise state, UP, Maharashtra, Madhya Pradesh, Gujarat, these are the highly population compared to the other small state. So we should be like to that area also grow. We are growing, but it's a need to build up more capacity of the staff in the local state, and accordingly will grow in that areas.
By when do you see you'd be comfortable in these unexplored areas, the ones that you mentioned, UP, Maharashtra?
No, if you see that the country is a big state population also huge. If you come to the 22 crores population in UP, no, it will take some time on that. But growth of the bank will be helped to reach to the more people on the basis of build up the capacity and market, of course. The market is there, so we cannot be quantify on that within 5 years we can be reach on that. No, but it is a year-on-year basis we can build up the capacity and accordingly will reach to the people on that.
So one last question. When we talk about affordable housing, you said the bank has been at least up to 88%, its book belongs to micro lending. So when we talk about some other areas within it, such as home loans or two-wheeler loans, how do you see those coming up in your loan book growth?
Now, if you see that the 1.7 million family have in our country who have not any shelter. So we'll be love to give the service to this segment also. Yeah, no, we say that there is a need of the credit to make a one shelter. Or if you say that there is a family, father and mother, and now son has come as matured and married, but there is that room for them. They can be expand their 2 rooms to 4 rooms. So this is also extension level also. So this is a way we are like to reach to the people maximum in the rural, and how we can give this support to them is an affordable housing on that.
So by how much do you see that?
This isn't how much is a big market also. No, if you see that the housing finance company, how they are growing on that. So need on that to build up again in the capacity on that, because this market we are new. So we have need to more time to build up the capacity of the staff, and accordingly we like to grow. So this is not in a growth mode. This is a build up the institutional capacity to reach into this level of the people, assess this type of customers' income, and accordingly we like to grow on that.
Moving on, GST collections in the month of February have come in lower compared to that in January. Collections are expected to go up after the rollout of the e-way bill system from the 1st of April. We have Nikunj Auri joining us on the phone line for more details. Nikunj, what do we have for us?
Right. The GST collections have fallen after stabilizing in the 86,000 crore range to 85,174 crore in the month of February. Now, GST collections were expected to be on a rise, considering the government is taking several steps to put anti-evasion measures in place. But now the GST collections seem to have fallen to the 85,000 mark. Now, one good news for the government is that the number of return filers have increased by about 2 lakh as compared to the previous month. There were about 59.51 lakh GSTR 3B returns that were filed for the month of February, which compares with about 57.78 lakh GSTR 3B returns which were filed in the month of January. Now, to give a breakup of the GST collected, the central share of GST for the month of February was about 14,945 crore, The state share of GST was about 20,456 crore rupees in the month of February. IGST collected was 42,456 crore rupees, and compensation cess was about 7,317 crore rupees. After settlement of funds, which takes place after when a business-to-consumer transaction actually happens, the centre's share has gone up by about 12,140 crore to about 27,085 crore rupees for the month of February, while state share has increased by 13,400 crore rupees to 33,880 crore rupees for the month of February. Over to you.
Thanks for that, Nikunj. But moving on to what has been a very busy day for the National Company Law Tribunals, with 3 different insolvency cases coming up for hearing at different tribunals. So let's start off with the Kolkata NCLT, where the judge was hearing a Binani Industries plea seeking to revoke the insolvency process. We have Ishadrita Lahiri from the Quint, who was in the courtroom when the arguments were being made, gets us all the details in this report.
In a turnaround event at the Kolkata NCLT today, Binani Cements has asked for all insolvency procedures against it to be terminated. Binani Industries Limited has also sought 2 weeks' time from the court to pay off all its financial and operational creditors. The court, however, observed that such an application cannot be entertained at the NCLT and that BIL must make an application to the Supreme Court. Binani Industries has argued that the NCLT can entertain this application using its inherent powers. The judge has then asked the COC to consider Binani's plea and has also asked the COC and the RP to look for an out-of-court settlement because it will take time for this case to be heard in court. Finally, the judge did not give any order on the court. The case has been adjourned till the 2nd of April, and the COC has been given 2 days' time to consider Binani's proposal and come up with a reply to the NCLT, after which the reply and all the other cases, all the other petitions in this case will be heard.
And shifting focus now to the Ahmedabad NCLT, which was hearing the Essar Steel insolvency case. New Metal and ArcelorMittal had a rather divided view on the lenders, calling for new bids from all 6 shortlisted bidders. And the Quint's Rahul Nair, who was in the courtroom, is here with the details. Rahul, over to you.
So today in the NCLT's Ahmedabad bench hearing, the arguments placed by New Metal, ArcelorMittal, along with the RP and the COC were heard at great length. And the final hearing in the matter has been kept for April 4th, while all the parties have been asked to submit additional documents and affidavits by April 2nd. Now, the final bids, the second round of bids would be accepted on April 2nd, which has been accepted by the court. However, the court has indicated to the RP not to finalize on any of the bids till the final hearing is held on April 4th. ArcelorMittal is absolutely fine with the fresh bids, but New Metal is not. In fact, New Metal wanted the final hearing to be held on April 2nd, which was not accepted by the court. The RP instead suggested both the parties that they should make amendments to their resolutions and then file for fresh bids. Towards the end of the session, we learned that New Metal is going to file a fresh petition against ArcelorMittal, questioning their eligibility to bid for Essar Steel.
Well, thanks for that, Rahul. Of course, we will be watching out for further details with respect to these proceedings in the NCLT. But moving on, we have Manipal Health, which has made an offer to Fortis Healthcare, the country's second largest hospital chain, put out a statement today saying that the board is still evaluating Manipal Health's offer. So how could the deal be structured if it does go through? We have Yatin Motas drawing up a scenario analysis and what it could mean for Fortis Healthcare and its minority shareholders. Yatin, over to you.
The news reports are suggesting that there is a board meeting today in which Manipal will be, taking some decision or structuring as far as the acquisition of Fortis Healthcare is concerned. Of course, the company later on clarified, on the position that they have got a non-binding offer from Manipal Health in this regard. But let's see, what exactly the news reports are suggesting and how really will it shape up. So we have done a scenario analysis on the basis of the news reports. The scenario 1 says that if there is a capital infusion by TPG, which the news report suggests could be upwards of 4,000 crores, via equity, then it might trigger an open offer not only for Fortis Healthcare but also Fortis Malhar. So this is scenario number one. In the other scenario, if the capital infusion is via a mix of debt and equity, and there is a proposal for a reverse merger for both Fortis Healthcare and Manipal through a court-driven process or NCLT-driven process, then probably it will be a exemption on the open offer. So these are the two scenarios wherein there can be an open offer and there cannot be an open offer. So this is one thing from the minority investors' perspective.
And Yatin, how will the final structure look like?
That is the most important part, because we have Manipal, which is into the hospital business. Fortis has two divisions. One is the hospital business and one is the diagnostics business. So, what the news reports are suggesting, that finally we'll have a structure wherein Manipal will be infusing capital to buy out Fortis Healthcare's and the minority investors stake in RHT, which is a trust listed out of Singapore. So we'll have the combined entity housing the entire hospital business. Number two will be Fortis Malhar, and we already have a scheme of arrangement that the previous promoters had proposed, which is basically demerger of the diagnostics business and the healthcare business under Malhar, as well as listing a separate business, which is SRL. So, we'll have a scheme of arrangement wherein the Fortis Malhar hospital business move into the main entity, the hospital entity, and the remainder business, which is diagnostics business, as well as SRL Labs, will be separately listed. So we'll have two entities. One will be the mega entity, which is the hospital business of both Manipal and Fortis, and one will be the pure play diagnostics business, wherein again there are various investors as well as various other restructuring schemes which are going on. So very important to watch out for as to how really the fund infusion and the post fund infusion scenario pans out for Fortis Healthcare, and probably that will be the key factor which will determine the course of the share price moving forward for Fortis Healthcare.
That's right. Thanks for that, Yatin. Of course, Yatin also, telling us about some key factors to keep an eye on if should we see a deal go through. But to all the latest in the Aadhaar hearing, the UIDAI CEO concluded his presentation to the judge bench in the Supreme Court today. And despite the various news reports on alleged data leaks in the Aadhaar system, the UIDAI CEO told the court that there hasn't been a single data leak in the Aadhaar system yet. We have Arpan Chaturvedi joining us on the phone line for more. Arpan, what's the UIDAI CEO's case here?
That's right. The UIDAI CEO has concluded his presentation today in the Supreme Court, and now the petitioners have put forward 20 questions that he will have to answer on the next date of hearing. Today, his presentation was mostly focusing on this aspect, that this argument being raised that the Aadhaar architecture is capable of surveillance, and his point was that he tried to counter that argument by saying that they do not get they get access to very limited information. So what he said was that when the Aadhaar authentication is done for different transactions, in that case, UIDAI does not get to know the purpose and details of those transactions. The eKYC data is not shared with anyone except with the Aadhaar holder, and the Aadhaar holder has an option to go and view those authentication in case he feels that that has been misused. Apart from that, he also focused on other aspects, saying that there's no possibility of joining different databases, and once the UIDAI token or the virtual ID introduced, that will further be minimized. So those were some of the points that he made. Specifically, as far as the data leak argument is concerned, he said that there has not been a single data leak from the UIDAI database. As he said on the earlier hearings as well, that it's very well protected. There are CCTV installations in the setup, and of course, it's been protected by physical as well as the technical encryption methods. That was some of the arguments that he made, and now the next date of hearing will be on the next Tuesday, when the Attorney General will now continue the arguments on behalf of the petitioners.
Of course, we will be watching out for the responses to the questions that will be made to the CEO, following this. Thanks for that, Arpan, for joining us and giving us those details. But moving in, both the houses of the parliament were adjourned for the day amidst protests on multiple issues. And the Lok Sabha today failed to take up notices for no confidence motion against the government after Speaker Sumitra Mahajan said the House was not in order and adjourned proceedings amid noisy protests over various issues. As soon as the House met for the 0 hour, members from the AIADMK trooped into the well, shouting slogans and demeaning immediate constitution of the Kaveri River Management Board. Chairman M. Venkaiah Naidu adjourned the upper house for the day after AIADMK members protested over the Kaveri water issue in the Rajya Sabha as well.
जब हाउस आप चलने नहीं देंगे, हाउस ऑर्डर में नहीं रहेगी, तब किसी विषय पर चर्चा ही नहीं होगी। यदि आप चर्चा करना चाहते हैं लोकसभा और राज्यसभा में, हाउस में ऑर्डर कायम करो ना।
सदन चलना चाहिए, कार्रवाई चलनी चाहिए, हम लोगों को अपने मुद्दे उठाने चाहिए और सरकार को उसका जवाब देना चाहिए। मगर जिस तरह से ये हो रहा है, हम देश का पैसा जाया कर रहे हैं।
Both the houses are not working for that matter because there are multiple issues. The issues are genuine issues, but it also shows the failure of the government. The failure of the government to resolve certain issues, and the failure of the government to reach out to all political parties to find a way out to break the impasse.
And Karnataka will go to polls on May 12th, and voters will be counted on, and votes will be counted on May 15th. And Election Commission today announced that the elections will take place in a single phase across all 224 seats. Notification for the polls will be issued on April 17, and the last data for filing nomination will be April 24th, and April 27th will be the last date of withdrawal of candidates. Chief Election Commissioner of OP Rawat said that all electronic voting machines will be linked to voter verifiable paper audit trail machines for the Karnataka elections.
Almost all the parties were of the view that it should be a single phase election, and therefore, keeping in view their demand, it is single phase election with notification on 17th April 2018. Last date of nominations 24th April 2018. Date of scrutiny of nominations 25th April 2018. Last date for withdrawal of candidatures is 27th April 2018. Now your issue comes. Date of poll is 12th May. Yeah. Date of counting is 15th May.
That Karnataka elections will be prompt a stiff electoral fight between Congress and BJP is a known fact, but the war of words began today as soon as election dates were out. BJP's IT cell chief Amit Malviya tweeted the date of the polls before the Election Commission officially announced it, and Malviya's tweet came when the Chief Election Commissioner OP Rawat was addressing a press conference, but he had not announced the dates. Malviya has clarified, saying that he had only quoted a news channel, but Chief Election Commissioner OP Rawat called it a very serious issue and said that the poll panel will probe the matter and take stringent action. Meanwhile, Congress called the BJP a super election commission and said that the credibility of the poll panel is under serious risk. It has also urged the poll panel to take action against BJP and its president Amit Shah.
BJP party इलेक्शन कमीशन को डिक्टेट कर रही है डेट कौन से होना चाहिए, लेकिन मैं फिर भी इलेक्शन कमीशन से यह अपेक्षा करता हूं कि वो संविधान के मुताबिक चले, ऐसे इंफॉर्मेशन लीक न होने देना और कानून के तहत वो काम करे। ऐसा कभी भी किसी पार्टी को तारीख, डेट, टाइम मालूम नहीं था, ये पहली बार हुआ है।
West Bengal Chief Minister and leader of Trinamool Congress Party Mamata Banerjee met with a host of leaders from different political parties in New Delhi today. Banerjee is scheduled to attend a dinner hosted by NCP leader Sharad Pawar in Delhi today. Discussions regarding a united approach against BJP are expected from the meetings. And addressing the media, Mamata Banerjee said that the BJP has lost its credibility not only from people but also its own erstwhile partners. She pitched a united federal front for 2019 elections and stressed that if Akhilesh Singh Yadav and Mayawati stay together, then their front can not be defeated in Uttar Pradesh. She also called BJP the most communal party in the country and said that the current government is hurting the country's democracy.
चाहे जो काफी दिन पहले भी उसका साथ था, चाहे टीडीपी हो, चाहे केएसआर हो, चाहे शिवसेना हो, पूछो ना, ये लोगों को भी पूछिए ना क्या है। बीजेडी भी इसका साथ था, आज बीजेडी को भी तंग करता है, टीडीपी का साथ भी झगड़ा हो गया, आज केएसआर का साथ भी झगड़ा हो गया, किसका साथ नहीं है? अखिलेश और मायावती जी अगर एक रहेगा देश में, कोई कुछ नहीं कर सकता। मायावती जी हम पसंद करते हैं, पॉलिटिकल लीडर है भाई देश का, हम इज्जत करते हैं। हम तो चाहते हैं मायावती और अखिलेश जी मीटिंग बुलाए लखनऊ में, हम लोग सब जाएंगे।
And with that, it's a wrap on the show, but there's still lots more lined up through the course of the day, so don't go anywhere. Thanks for watching and stay tuned in the Bloomberg Quint.